Single dad saved the woman. Collapsing at his door, not knowing. She was CEO who fired him 5 years ago. The sound of fists pounding against his apartment door at 2:47 a.m. pulled Marcus Chen from the deepest sleep he'd had in weeks. His first thought wasn't concern for whoever stood outside. It was pure parental panic. His 6-year-old daughter, Lily, slept in the next room, and unexpected midnight visitors in their modest Brooklyn building rarely brought good news. Marcus stumbled through the darkness, his nurse's instincts already kicking in as he heard a woman's voice, weak and desperate, gasping something unintelligible. He yanked open the door to find a figure in an expensive gray suit crumpled against the doorframe, her silk blouse darkened with sweat, one hand clutching her chest, the other reaching out toward nothing. "Help me," she whispered, her eyes rolling back. Marcus caught her before she hit the ground, his arms automatically positioning to protect her head. In that moment, under the flickering hallway light, he didn't see her face clearly. He didn't recognize the sharp cheekbones or the designer watch that probably cost more than his monthly rent. He only saw someone dying. "Call 911!" he shouted to Mrs. Rodriguez next door, whose face appeared in her doorway, eyes wide with alarm. Marcus lowered the woman to the floor, fingers already finding her pulse, rapid, irregular, weakening. His training took over. He loosened her collar, elevated her legs with his jacket, assessed her breathing. "Stay with me," he commanded, his voice the same one he used in the ER when he fought death for 12-hour shifts. "What's your name?" "Can you hear me?" Her lips moved, forming words without sound. Her skin felt clammy, her breathing shallow. Classic signs of cardiac distress, maybe a heart attack. Marcus kept talking to her, checking her vitals, doing everything he could with no equipment in a dimly lit hallway while sirens wailed in the distance. It wasn't until the paramedics arrived and loaded her onto the stretcher, wasn't until one of them asked if he knew her, that Marcus finally looked at her face properly under the harsh emergency lights. His blood ran cold. Victoria Ashford, CEO of Ashford Medical Technologies, the woman who had terminated his employment 5 years ago without explanation, who had blacklisted him from every major hospital in the city, who had destroyed his career in healthcare management and forced him to start over as an ER nurse at half his former salary. The woman who had made him lose his house, his savings, and nearly his daughter when his ex-wife sued for full custody, claiming he couldn't provide stability. Marcus stood frozen as they wheeled her into the elevator. One of the paramedics turned back. "You coming? You might have saved her life. She'll want to thank you." I have my daughter," Marcus managed, his voice hollow. The truth was more complicated than that. He couldn't move. Couldn't process the cosmic joke the universe had just played on him. The woman who'd ruined his life had collapsed at his door. And his instinct, his damned, immovable instinct to help, had kicked in before his memory did. Mrs. Rodriguez touched his arm. "You did good, Marcus. That's who you are." But who was he, really? A fool? A saint? A man so broken by kindness that he'd save his own destroyer? Marcus retreated into his apartment, checked on Lily, still sleeping soundly, thank God, and sat in his kitchen as dawn broke. He made coffee with shaking hands, replaying that night 5 years ago when security had escorted him from his office, replaying the mortgage statements and eviction notices, replaying the custody, hearing where opposing counsel had painted him as an unstable provider, and he'd just saved her life. 3 days passed. Marcus tried to forget about it, to fold the incident into the pile of strange things that happened in New York City and move on. But on Thursday, a man in a tailored suit appeared at his door during Lily's afternoon cartoon hour. "Mr. Chan, I'm Robert Hall, Ms. Ashford's personal attorney. She'd like to speak with you." "I'm not interested," Marcus said flatly. "She's still in the hospital. She's asking specifically for you. She says it's important. Tell Ms. Ashford I hope she recovers fully." "But I have nothing to say to her." The lawyer's expression softened. "Mr. Chen, I don't know the history between you two, but I've worked for Victoria for 8 years. I've never seen her like this. She's different. Please, just 10 minutes. Something in the man's voice, genuine, almost pleading, made Marcus hesitate. Against every logical neuron firing in his brain, he agreed. The hospital was Mount Sinai naturally, the best. Marcus hadn't set foot in this building since his blacklisting. and security actually stopped him at the entrance until the lawyer vouched for him. Even then, Marcus caught the looks from former colleagues who remembered him, who whispered as he passed. Victoria Ashford's private room could have been a hotel suite. She sat propped against pillows, monitors beeping steadily beside her, her face pale but alert. When Marcus entered, her eyes locked onto his with an intensity that made him want to flee. "Close the door," she said quietly. "Please." Marcus did, then stood as far from her bed as the room allowed. "You wanted to see me." "I didn't know it was you," she began, her voice strained. "When I woke up, they told me someone from apartment 4B had saved me. I asked them to find out who. When they said Marcus Chen," she closed her eyes. "I couldn't believe it." "Neither could I," Marcus said coldly. "You collapsed at the wrong door." "No." She opened her eyes, and Marcus was startled to see tears. "It was exactly the right door. Marcus, I need to tell you something I should have said 5 years ago. I need to tell you the truth. I don't want your truth. I want nothing from you. I didn't fire you," she said, the words rushing out. "My father did. Before he died. Before I took over as CEO. You were the scapegoat for a medical device failure that could have destroyed the company. My father's device. His design. He falsified your reports to make it look like you'd approved faulty specs. I found out 2 years after his death, after I gained access to his private files." Marcus felt the floor tilt beneath him. "What?" "I tried to find you. To make it right, but you disappeared. Changed careers. I hired investigators, but you'd gone completely off the grid. I set up a fund anonymously to help you if you ever applied to hospitals again, to counteract the blacklisting, but you never did. You just vanished. I became a nurse," Marcus said numbly. "I couldn't get management positions, so I went back to patient care." Victoria's face crumpled. "I destroyed your career because I was too cowardly to expose my father's corruption. I protected the company instead of you, and then you saved my life." The room fell silent except for the monitors. Marcus struggled to breathe, to process, to reconcile 5 years of bitter anger with this impossible revelation. "Why should I believe you?" he finally asked. She reached for a folder on her bedside table, wincing with the movement. "Because I've spent 3 days preparing this. Copies of my father's files, testimony from engineers who knew the truth, a settlement offer that includes full exoneration, restoration of your credentials, and—" She paused. "And a formal apology from Ashford Medical Technologies taking full responsibility for the wrongful termination." Marcus took the folder with numb fingers. He flipped through pages of documents, emails, technical reports, evidence that would have changed everything 5 years ago. "Why now?" he asked. "Why not before?" "Because I was a coward," Victoria said simply. "I told myself I was protecting my father's legacy, protecting jobs, protecting the company. But really, I was protecting myself from the shame of what he'd done, what I'd allowed to stand." She wiped her eyes. "And then I collapsed at your door and you saved me anyway. You didn't hesitate. You didn't ask who I was. You just helped. And I realized I've been running from the person I should have been all along." Marcus sank into the chair beside her bed. "I have a daughter. She's 6. Her name is Lily." "I know," Victoria whispered. "I found out. I'm so sorry. When you fired me, when your father fired me, I lost everything. My wife left. I almost lost custody of Lily. We lived in a shelter for 3 months." Marcus's voice cracked. "Do you understand what that does to a person? To a child?" "No," Victoria said honestly. "I can't understand. I can only apologize and try to make amends. It will never be enough." They sat in silence. Marcus thought about the past 5 years, the struggle, the shame, the nights he'd cried alone in bathroom stalls between shifts. But he also thought about Lily, about the life they'd built from nothing, about the person he'd become. Humbler, stronger, more present with his daughter than he ever would have been as a healthcare executive working 80-hour weeks. "I'm not who I was," Marcus said finally. "I don't want that life back." "I'm not offering it," Victoria replied. "I'm offering the truth. What you do with it is your choice." Marcus stood, tucking the folder under his arm. "I need to think about this. I have to pick up Lily from school." "Wait." Victoria's voice stopped him at the door. "Why did you help me? If you'd recognized me, would you still have done it?" Marcus turned back. He thought about his answer carefully. I want to say no, that I would have let karma handle it. But the truth? I don't know if I could have walked away. Some instincts run deeper than anger. That's the part of me I couldn't kill, even when I wanted to, even when it would have been easier. That's the difference between us, Victoria said softly. You chose to be a healer even when it cost you everything. I chose to be a coward even when it cost you everything. Marcus left without responding. He walked through the hospital corridors, seeing them differently now, seeing his life differently. The weight of Victoria's revelation settled on his shoulders. Neither heavy nor light, just present. When he picked up Lily from school, she bounded into his arms with her usual joy, chattering about the butterfly they'd studied in science class. Marcus held her tighter than usual, breathing in the scent of her shampoo, feeling the solidness of her small body against his chest. Daddy, you're squishing me, she giggled. Sorry, baby. Just missed you. That night, after Lily fell asleep, Marcus opened the folder again. He read every page, absorbed every piece of evidence. Then he made a decision. The next morning, he called Victoria's lawyer. Tell her I accept the apology. Tell her I'll take the exoneration and the public statement clearing my name. But I don't want money. Put whatever settlement you planned into a fund for healthcare workers who've been wrongfully terminated, people who don't have anyone fighting for them. There was a long pause. Mr. Chen, are you certain? The amount we discussed was substantial. I'm certain. And tell Ms. Ashford something else. Tell her that forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about refusing to let bitterness poison what comes next. I'm choosing what comes next. The statement was released 2 weeks later. Marcus's name was cleared in medical technology circles. His credentials restored, offers flooding in from hospitals and companies. But Marcus stayed in the ER, kept his same shifts, kept his same modest